We still want to find out a little bit about why they're on the ballot, what they think they can do for the city, and we'll talk to them as the evening goes on. I'm joined, as I always am, on election evening by the President and CEO of the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, Melissa Vance, without the ears.
That's right. No Mickey ears.
No Mickey
tonight.
ears tonight. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And we're going to dive right into this with what everybody wants to know about: how we pay our taxes. We have Kathy Williams, Wayne County Treasurer, and Nancy Funk, Chief Deputy, here with us this evening. And ladies, this is almost becoming a regular happening that we get to election and you all show up and go, we want your money. Well, not quite like that, but pretty close. This is the time of year, the deadline is coming up, and as you said as we were walking down the hallway, you just want to remind people because you don't want them to have to pay a penalty. So talk to us.
There's absolutely nothing worse than an older person coming in the day after the deadline saying, I forgot, I just found my coupon and I'm so sorry. You know, do I have to pay a penalty? Yes, you do. We don't make the law, but unfortunately we do have to, we uphold the law. And so it's just really sad. And we do, in our office, we try very hard to get out to all the media. You guys are great to put a notice out there like the 1st of May to the radio, the newspapers, the television station. Please remember, May 10th is the deadline, or this year in the fall it's November the 12th because of the Veterans Day, you know, set off. So we really try. And the county does need the money, but and I just feel badly when people end up paying the penalty because they forgot. And there really is nothing we can do about waiving the penalty for that reason.
First thing that they need to do is show up at your office with a check.
Right. So here are the different ways that they can pay. We'll go through that. So as you said, they can walk in the office with their coupon and a check. We have a drop box on the west side of our building between the courthouse and us, but on our building, they can drop a check and their coupon in there. No cash, please. You can pay at any of the branches of First Bank Richmond, Wayne Bank, West End Bank. We partner with all those people and they're all wonderful. So any of them will be happy to help you take your tax payment there. Okay. You can mail it in. We also have, you can go to the Wayne County website and you can pay online. The vendor has a fee for that. So you just check that out and you can pay it online, but there's a fee by the vendor. It's not us. Because people have said, oh, and now you're going to charge me for using my card. Well, it's not us. We get no part of that. But they have to make some money off of their service. Because we're kind of, you know, people don't understand. We're not like Walmart. We're not selling a product as such. They build in those fees, you know, for Walmart and people that are selling a product. We can't do that. So.
Well, it's good to know that people can pay at different locations, because I know before we went on air, you were talking about the long lines, and people don't necessarily have to stand in line. They can just go to their local bank and pay the teller that they always work with and take care of it that way, and instead of having to stand in line and wait.
We also have a drop box in the office, so if you come in and you see the line and you don't want to hang out for the line, there's a drop box at the end of our office that you can just drop it in there and we'll get it there also and leave your payment that way. So
the lines that are long, is that because a lot of people are not having their taxes escrowed, or are there that many people that don't have mortgages, or
I think
how is that working?
The majority of them are, I think, older people that are used to, here's what I do. They want that receipt, that little piece of paper that says, yes, I paid. Even though we all know that you would have a canceled check for the most part, because most of them bring a check more so than cash. But then we have the people that, I just bought this and I didn't get the bill, or I don't think this bill is right. Can you explain this to me? And we find a lot of times we are looking at the bill, even though our job in the treasurer's office is simply to collect the money and then distribute it and so forth. But they ask, why is my assessment up? Where's my homestead? All kinds of things. It's really not our job to explain, but we try our best when we know the answer to tell them so that they're not running all over the building. But there's times when we do say, you need to go see the county assessor or the township assessor or the auditor's office and try to direct them in the right way. The same way when they call a lot of times with those questions. It's just kind of tough.
One of the things you mentioned is that they can mail it. If it's mailed, does it need to be postmarked? Does it need to get to you by the 10th?
Yes,
Does it have to be
thank
postmarked
you.
by the 10th?
Thank you, Eric. So the law says it has to have a U.S. postmark on or before May the 10th or the deadline date. So if you're going to run to the post office on May the 10th, I would walk in and have them hand cancel that, because we have had people that dropped it at the box at 10 minutes till 5. The post office had already picked up the mail, and we had one farmer that paid like $500 in penalties because he did that. Was the first time in 30 years, and they had already pulled the mail unbeknownst to him. So we tell them to do that, and it's not metered mail. Metered mail doesn't count. So if you have a metered machine, and you're that close to the deadline, don't run your mail through there. Go into the post office. And then also on the 10th, I go back at midnight in our drop box on the outside.
That's got to be fun.
Oh, yes. Twice a year I do that and get my husband and we go. But I get all of those at midnight. So everybody, and I've met people there putting something in their box at like 5 minutes till. But I wait till 12 o'clock and I pull those out, and those are all on time. So those people don't pay a penalty. Now, I can't tell you every treasurer in the county or in the state does that. Probably the majority do not. But we love our taxpayers, and we do try very hard in our office to take care of our taxpayers and do what we can. So if that means I don't go to bed until 12:30, okay. You know, that's something I try to do.
When it's not tax season, what happens in you all's office? What do you actually do?
Oh my goodness.
Go for it. This
ahead,
is a chance
Nancy.
this is a chance to educate people on the
Okay.
because when we were walking back here, I said, I've got a couple of questions. And you said, are they treasurer's questions or auditor's questions? And part of that is people don't always know what the difference is in what the various offices do. So this is a chance to kind of help us understand.
We have an installment program that takes up time. Have about 500 people now on that installment program, where you can pay your property taxes in monthly installments. Maybe you've paid your mortgage off and you don't have an escrow account any longer, so I'll figure up how much it will take so that you're even by the November payment.
Okay.
And you get no penalties, and you can pay your taxes that way. Of course, then there's people that have going to the tax sale, and the tax sale, we offer you a chance to get into an agreement to pay your property taxes before we offer it at tax sale.
Okay.
So there's that. There's, oh gosh.
I know that you
this-
had started something where you were going around to a couple of schools last year trying to
yes.
teach students
So-
what happens in your office. How have you been
Exactly.
able to do that this year?
I didn't do that this year. I need to do it again. So, well, now that you brought that up, you've
did it
opened the
last
door,
fall.
Eric, so we'll step right through. So what we did, we had so many people come in and, why do you want so much money for taxes? What are you doing with my money? Why this, why that? So I thought, you know, it's really sad. A lot of people truly don't know. So we created our own little program, if you will, and we went to almost every school in Wayne County. And the schools were great to let us come and do that. So what we did is we made up tax bills, and every child in whatever room we were in, and it was mostly high school kids, we had some middle school kids, and they were all great. Everybody got a tax bill. And then we had a fireman, a police officer, a county treasurer, a librarian, a school teacher, the school cook. I can't remember, we had a judge.
Gotta have a judge.
Yes. So what we did, well, when I said that, we had props for those people, and we picked kids that were those things.
Sure.
Right.
So then we talked about property, 3 different house pictures we had, you know, a lower income, middle, and upper, and everyone had a job. Somebody was an MNBA player. Someone worked at McDonald's, someone worked at Dillard's, or, you know, worked at Belden, whatever. So they kind of got here's how you make your money, here's where you live, here's what you're paying taxes on according to the value, and here's where your money goes. So everyone had money in their tax bill to pay their bill, monopoly money, I will say.
Okay.
And then they paid it. And then the county treasurer went and paid all the people, the judge, the librarian, because the settlement funds goes to the schools, you know, the city police, the county sheriff, and we paid, and the fire department, we paid all these people. And it's like, oh.
The light bulb came on.
Exactly.
It's excellent for students to learn that. You
Exactly.
know, I think we've talked to a lot of educators and they're teaching personal finance, but I'm not sure
Yes.
if that's a piece of the personal finance that's typically taught in the classroom. So it's wonderful, even if it is a part of their curriculum, to have somebody who's doing the job to be able to come in and kind of reinforce it in an easy to understand way.
Some of the kids had some great questions. I mean, I was shocked at some of the questions. They wanted to know, could I run for president? And I said, well, probably, but I don't think I will, but thanks for asking. But it was just great, and they really learned a lot. And I said, now, when you go home, you tell your mom and dad and your grandparents what you learned today about taxes, because some of them probably don't know. I think it was very enlightening.
Nice. This is, you're watching the In Focus election special, by the way, being presented by the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, Whitewater Community Television. We're speaking with Kathy Williams, Nancy Funk from the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. It's tax time, and they'll give us one more time when the deadline is and how to get that done. But this is a municipal election. Next year, we end up in county elections again.
Yes.
Are you up for election at that point in time?
My term ends December 31st of 2020, and I'm term limited, so I'm done. I've been in the office 13 years, but be almost 15 by then. But Nancy's planning on running for my spot, so
Okay.
hopefully that will go
Very
well.
good.
And I really don't have any plans to do anything else. I'll just go off into the sunset. Unless something comes knocking on my door, and I don't foresee that, but
I tell Kathy we can switch. She can be chief deputy and I'll be treasurer.
There you
know,
go.
we're still the team.
You get to, the treasurer gets to choose the chief deputy.
yes.
Correct.
Does it have to be
Appointed.
somebody that's in your office right now?
Does not have to, no. You
Okay.
can appoint the person you want. But I will say Nancy does a great job, and so it makes sense to me, not just because she does a great job and I know her through the office, but someone that's been there and knows the job in the office. To get someone outside that knows nothing, I'm just floored by whether it's my office or which one. When you know absolutely nothing, that's tough. I mean, the learning curve for that is huge. And so, not that it can't be done, but boy, it's hard. And we were talking about the amount of money that we have that goes through our office. And I think personally that we do a good job. You know, our county has done great, you know, financially. When I look at what some other counties have done and the issues and the problems that they have, I think, oh, I'm so glad I'm in Wayne County because we don't have that problem. Even though sometimes we think, well, they're a little too tight with some of the funds, but you know, it's better that way than you don't have it for the essential things.
Okay. So you'll be back, hopefully.
Yes.
Yes.
Telling us
If you'll
about
have
it.
me back.
We'll have you back in a candidate forum in a year or so.
Yes.
That would be
But you'll be
great.
back in the fall. But spring tax payment, one more time, just in case somebody is just tuning in, just came
Yeah.
in, just turned on the show, you're here
Okay.
because spring payment for taxes is due. And these are taxes
Property
due in
taxes.
19, payable 18 or something?
2018 payable in 2019.
Okay.
So our office hours are 8:30 to 4:30 the rest of the week. Make sure if you put it in the mail, make sure that it's going to get postmarked with a U.S. postmark. If you run it down to the post office on the 10th, take it in. Ask them to, you know, postmark it right there. We have the drop box on the west side of the building. Outside, you can just drop it in there. I will pick that up at midnight, and that will still be on time. You can go to the Wayne County website, pay it online. You can go to any branch of First Bank Richmond, Wayne Bank, West End Bank, whether it's Cambridge, you know, Hagerstown, wherever, Richmond. They all take payments. I'm trying to
I think that's it.
come into the office, cash. We still take cash. A lot of people say, do you still take cash? Yes, we do.
They can't put
So-
cash in the drop box, but they can give
Correct.
you cash.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So I think that's pretty much got it. And we really appreciate you allowing us to have this time to try and help our taxpayers. Really, we
Glad to do it. Thank you for being here, ladies. Thanks for starting
you.
off the show. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We're going to switch the seats out. Doug Goss, Kelly Cruz Nicholson, who are running for Richmond Common Council, District 1 and District 2, will join us as we continue with the In Focus election special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. Hi, I'm Eric Marsh, host of Eastern Indiana Works, a new program providing information about jobs and workforce development tools in East Central Indiana. Join me on the premiere episode as we talk with Rushville Mayor Mike Pavey, Kirk Robbins from Magna Machine and Tool, and Winnie Logan, Director of the Newcastle Henry County Public Library. Eastern Indiana Works, Tuesday evenings at 10:30 on WETV, Channel 20.
Hi, Phil Quinn. Join us for another edition of Connect with Ivy Tech, where we talk to our student graduates. A few students stopped by to tell us their story about Ivy Tech, why it was a good decision for them, and what it feels like to get to cross that stage.
I have worked hard for this, but my family has also worked hard for this. They've put in a lot of time and they've stepped up a lot.
Join us for another edition of Connect with Ivy Tech on WETV, Channel 20, Fridays at 9 o'clock.
Hi, I'm Melissa Vance with the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to invite you to join me for the next Chamber Chat. We'll be talking with Steve Borchers from the Wayne County Foundation and Ron Holbrook from Sugar Creek.
Childhood development is going to be, I think, a huge benefit for the community, and we're excited to be a part of that.
Tune in Tuesday night, WETV Channel 20 at 8 p.m.
Welcome back to the In Focus election special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric Marsh, joined by Melissa Vance, President and CEO of the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce. In just a little while, you'll start to see some numbers come up at the bottom of the screen. No, that's not all of them. They actually released some early numbers. I'm being told about 888 ballots were cast in the early voting. You'll see what those numbers are, and then a little bit later on this evening, we will get the final numbers that will tell us you all are winners. Hey. We're joined by Kelly Cruz Nicholson and Doug Goss, I keep saying Wayne County Council. Richmond Common Council. Districts 1 and 2 have run unopposed in the primary.
Yes.
Somebody says it's better to, the best you could either run scared or unopposed or something like that, and I don't know.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I don't know. I got to be honest with you. I don't know. I keep hearing different things about what's going to be happening for the general election. And to be, I mean, I've been on council for 12 years.
That's a long time.
So it's a very long time. It's a very long time. So I don't know if I'm scared or I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's different. It's different.
It's the unknown,
It
right?
is the unknown.
It's the unknown.
I say I always run scared.
In the 12 years that you've been on, what have you seen change? And what are you hoping to see change in the next 4 years?
Oh my goodness. I guess for me, one of the things that, it's always, and we've talked about this before, part of my passion with being on city council was housing, how my constituents live. I mean, we have we still have blighted properties. We still have a slum landlord issue. We still have people that are, not able to get their needs met. These are things that are all important to me. So, and that comes too from my wearing both hats. You know that. And I'm in the community every day. I would like to see, honestly, for my district, one thing I would like to see is having a grocery store coming into our area. I mean, honestly,
Yes.
with 13th Street losing, the grocery store, Loba's, there's nothing, that's available for my folks. My goodness, if you want to go to the grocery store, you either have to go to the west side, to Meijer, or to Walmart, and that's pretty much it. And for those folks that don't have transportation, that is an issue. So I would like to see that happening. Everybody's looking at the opioid crisis right now and things that are happening in our city. Very important and important to me. The area that I live in, we have a lot.
Yeah, both of our districts are probably two of the heaviest
we have
with
a lot.
crime and opiate issues and the landlord issue.
Yeah.
So
You all have been able to see a rise in the number of police officers that
Yes.
are actually on the force.
Yes.
Have you seen a difference in the last 4 years with that increase in number? They're still not where they want to be. But what do you see?
I've seen a difference, and I think it's not only just the number of police officers, but the approach that they're using with the informed policing. I think I may be calling it the wrong thing, but basically, if a lot of people
Intelligence-led policing. that they're using.
intelligence-led policing, yes, as I think that is making a big difference. The more people are calling about a particular issue, the more they are addressing that.
Right.
I've seen the number of increased police presence in my neighborhood, because of that.
How do you, as a council person, and I assume you would help her, do what you said you wanted to do about as far as seeing a grocery store come into your area, changing the life of your people? The blighted properties, how do you change that? Most of the money that went into blighted properties over the last few years, and they've done a good job, some 200 homes have come down, but they've all come down basically in the Vale neighborhood. How do you find something and move it into the districts that you all have where you're looking to make that difference?
Go ahead.
Well, I think we need to, tearing the blighted properties down has worked to a certain point. I think we need to add another approach as far as fixing some properties up, some renovation of some properties as well. Because there's some beautiful places out there that were once beautiful that could be beautiful again. And we need to come up with some sort of program for that. A lot of the blighted properties were in between landlord owned properties, and they didn't want those blighted properties. So now we have a lot of empty lots that the city has to take care of. I have one right across the street from me, that's knee-high grass right now, and the contract to mow that is just got signed yesterday. So, that high grass and stuff is blight as well. It's causing issues in our neighborhood.
I think it's important for the viewers, and I know this may sound very elementary, but we probably have some viewers that don't know where District 1 and District 2 are. And so since we're talking about issues that are specific to your districts, maybe you can just share with the viewers what districts you represent, like what those boundaries are approximately. Doug?
Well, my district is a very odd-shaped district. It's shaped like a U. It includes the West Side High School over to Earlham College, south of National Road. And then it comes across down Liberty Avenue, South 5th Street. It's the west side of South 5th Street.
Okay.
Down to, where's the bottom of yours?
The bottom of mine is South Q.
Down to South Q. I'm south of South Q Street, over to 9th Street, and I'm east of 9th Street to, in some parts, South 13th, and in some parts, South 14th. So, and that's all the way up to E Street. So it's a very oddly shaped district. Basically, it's a U. I've actually lived in every part of that U, believe it or not. And then her district
It's right in the middle.
Is basically right in the middle. Yeah, I actually start out at New Paris Pike, so I do actually go out that far. I come down into North 14th Street. I go up there, but then it cuts over on North 14th Street and comes down almost all the way to 11th, and then cuts over and then cuts back up on Main Street and goes all the way up to 17th Street, but it's only 17th until A, A Street.
North A or South A?
South A.
Okay.
So, so it's odd because it cuts down to on D Street right there on South D, and then I go all the way out to South Q Street, okay, and you go over to the Senior Center and you come back down, and so like 5th Street is part of my district. 4th, I think it stops at 3rd. Is that correct? I think it's South 3rd Street it stops at. So it's like my district literally goes straight through the middle of town. But
So-
it's kind of
clear as mud.
yeah.
So when
it
we
is.
think about your districts, you really are the core of the city,
We are center.
Yes.
You're the core
We're
of the
both, we are
city.
center city.
which is why, when you talk about many of the blight properties are in those districts, the food
Yes.
desert, the largest portion of the opioid activity is taking place in that area, and that's a big reason why it's important.
Yes.
Not just to you, but it's important to the entire community. And so
It
when we
is.
think about, it's not just your constituents that those issues are important to.
Yeah.
That area affects everyone who lives in in the city of Richmond.
Yeah. And the opioid issue is such a complex issue. There's so many different facets of it. There's no one solution for that. So.
It's been very encouraging, I think, over the last few years to see city, county, and now private industry working together hand in hand to kind of hopefully make a dent in some of these issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
You're watching the In Focus Election Special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We're speaking with Doug Goss, Kelly Cruz Nicholson, from Richmond Common Council Districts 1 and 2. The numbers that you are seeing on the screen are not final numbers. It says 100%, but that's 100% of the early vote numbers. There were 888 ballots cast, so those are the numbers that you are seeing. You are not seeing final numbers from today. Those will continue to scroll through as we go through. We're going to let you all out of here in about a minute. So we're going to give you each just a brief time to say what it is that you're looking to be able to hear from your constituents over the next few months. There's a general election. Maybe you'll end up with an opponent, maybe you won't. There is still that possibility. What are the issues that you want to hear from them about?
Well, the issues that we just talked about, and I think the bike path issue, I think, there needs to be more input on the next phase of the bike path.
Okay.
Hopefully that can happen. And like I said, the issues that we've talked about.
Okay. What are you looking for differently?
Differently, honestly, Eric, I'm not sure that I'm looking so much for things that are differently, but I want people to talk to me about one of the issues that I know people have is the landlords who are out of town that come to the city and buy property, and then these properties are just kind of left. This is important to me. As I walk around my neighborhood and I walk around my district and I see some of these properties are just left. These are things that are important. What my tenants talk to me about, or my constituents, what some of my constituents have talked to me about is just having a better quality of life, looking for employment, better housing, you know, things that would enrich the lives of their children, I think are important. I think the bike path was, you know, Doug brought that up. It's a huge issue in my district. You know, I mean, I'm like right there, to be honest with you. I walk out my front door.
I see
there
where
it
it
is. So, you know, and I think that is big. And I think that people are looking for me to have some sort of answers about that. And we'll see how that works out. Yeah.
Doug Goss, Kelly Cruz Nicholson with Richmond Common Council, Districts 1 and 2. Thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
We will talk to you all again, I'm sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
we will continue talking with folks from the Richmond Common Council or who are running for Richmond Common Council as we continue with the In Focus Election Special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV, Channel 11.
Hi, I'm registered dietitian Jennifer Stockler.
And I'm Chef Dugan Wetzel.
We are the hosts of iHeart Cooking. Please join us this month as we talk about healthy desserts. Most of the desserts we're looking at adding fruit, kind of possibly decreasing added sugars, different ways of making things that you typically would think are not as a healthy bracket, but kind of putting them into there.
Join us on Monday nights at 9:30 on WETV Channel 20.
Hi, I'm Sherry Harlan Davis, program host for Read Beside You. Join us on our next episode where my guest will be Carrie Miles, CEO of the Neighborhood Health Center.
As a federally qualified look-alike, we provide primary care as well as behavioral health services, access to dental care, eligibility services for patients regardless of their ability to pay.
Join us Thursday at 8 o'clock on Channel 20 WETV.
Watch Wayne County Connection on WGTV Channel 11 Tuesdays at 6. I'm your host, Michael Swigert. Join me this month as I speak with Liz Yetter. She's the Regional Specialist for the Indiana Invasives Initiative, and Kate Glenn, the Outreach Coordinator from Hayes Arboretum, as we discuss initiative plant management here in Wayne County. Watch Wayne County Connection on WGTV Channel 11 Tuesdays at 6.
Hi, I'm Eric, host of Access to the Arts. This month, we look at things for youth to do during the summer that are arts-related in the community. Lots of ideas are going to be laid out, so I hope you can join us.
We're going to learn about a different form of art, from dancing, canvas painting, pottery, storytelling. So we're partnering with local art community members and organizations.
Access to the Arts, Thursday nights at 9 p.m. on WETV, Channel 20. Welcome back to the In Focus Election Special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We've changed the folks in the chairs. We have candidates from District 3 and District 5, somebody who's used to asking questions and not answering them. Bill Engel is here with us. Thanks for being here. And Jeff Locke, who is a current councilman for that district. Melissa Vance, President, CEO of the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, always with us on election night. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen, you're not having to run opposed tonight. So what's that like for you, and what are you kind of looking for as you start to hear the conversation unfold this evening and then into the general election time?
Mayorville.
Jeff, you go ahead and start.
This is my third time running for city council here in Richmond, and I've been unopposed in all the primaries. So that does make it nice, because we're not having to go out and spend a lot of money that we can use for the campaign this fall.
Sure.
So things that I want to hear from people later in the campaign is just what direction they feel the city needs to go. You know, as I've said in other campaigns, it's not what Jeff Locke wants to do. I'm here to represent you in the 5th District. What issues do you see as important, or what things do you see important in the district that you feel I should address? Because, you know, I'm their liaison from the neighborhoods to City Hall.
What have your constituents been talking to you about over the last year and a half? What have been the top issues in District 5?
Top issues I get is unkept yards, trash yards, potholes, street lights out. Nobody's contacted me. I haven't had any conversations about major issues such as bike lanes. Had some calls in regards to the construction of 27 and North J Street. A lot of people, when's that going to get fixed? Because a lot of people in my area, if they're going to go to the east side, they come down to J Street to cut over to 22nd Street by Glen Miller Park and head out east. So once that section of the project was finished, then my phone calls diminished quite a bit.
Okay. What about you? You are stepping into the political arena. You have, since you left, been on a couple of boards. You're on the Parks Board, sitting on the Richmond Advisory Plan Commission, now stepping into for Richmond Common Council. What made you decide to take that next leap?
I had thought about it when I was leaving the Palladium 3 years ago, and the main thing, I covered the political arena, covered city and county government, and that was really kind of my thing, and I wanted to stay involved. And the first, out of 6 months or so, I wasn't so involved, and I wanted to get back into it. I think I have something to offer the city and hopefully something to offer my district, and so I thought it was a great opportunity for me. And I've always been inspired by the people I've seen and the work I've seen on city council and also on the county commissioners and county council. And so hopefully it can take some of what I've learned in the last 15 years and put it to use for the city.
Bill, when you think about some of the things that you've seen, some of the things you've been involved with the various boards and committees, and as well as your reporting, what would you say you are passionate about in regard to the city and moving forward?
Certainly the Parks Department. It's been tremendously educational to be part of the Park Board and to see the passion that the other people have, Denise Retz and her staff. It's always inspiring to see those folks. So I hope to continue to be involved in that. I'm not sure how that'll happen. As you know, I'm a veteran, and I've always been inspired by what the veterans have done in Veterans Park, so I hope I can represent them in a honest and open way and their needs and wants. The development of the downtown is certainly the passion. I hope it's done someday. My belief is that it will be done someday and that it is going to be nice, and that we are going to see some continued and further growth downtown, and also linking of the downtown to the Depot District.
Yes.
And I love the Depot District.
Yes.
It's one of my favorites in town.
We know that social media is not a catch-all, be-all, end-all, cure-all, but it is where a lot of people get a lot of their news and a lot of their information. Have you thought, either one of you, how you're going to reach out using social media? I know that you've been pretty good with it. You were even on last night talking about some of the votes that council took.
Yes.
Is that something that you've gotten into, that you're going to embrace, that you're going to be using as we get closer into the fall election as a way to reach out to people and pass along what you think?
Yeah, most definitely. Last year I was unsuccessful in another race, and we used Facebook and social media quite a bit, so we're going to continue what we started last year. We've done some activity so far, but we've been light in doing it because obviously not having an opponent. But as we gear in toward November, we'll use social media quite a bit and interact in that fashion.
Will you ramp up your use of social media at all?
I plan to, but not necessarily as in an advertising way, although I guess you could argue that anything that any tweets or anything on Facebook will be advertising. But I plan to talk about the decisions of council and the decisions of the Plan Commission and Park Board and some of those issues, just as a way to consider the issues that are involved. For instance, last night with the Park Board and the rezoning of the land that was in an economic development district for Pastor Cummins and that effort. Those are complicated issues, and you have to listen to both sides. You have to figure out what is correct. You have to know what the decisions that you're making and what the criteria is for those, and then go from there, and also listen to the citizens. So I plan to do that probably with Twitter more so than Facebook. I'm not much of a Facebook guy anymore. So, but, and I suppose I might try a little advertising, not great at advertising, but who knows? Maybe it will be, so.
So, Jeff, you've been on council now for how long?
Well, I'm in my first term, so third of the
Finishing up
way through my fourth year. Yeah.
Okay. Talk about what are some of the accomplishments. I know you don't make impact by yourself, but some of the accomplishments that you've seen the city make since you've been on council, what are some of those things that you're really proud of?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that everybody can see every day going up and down Chester Boulevard is, the council, along with the county council, county commissioners, and Mayor Snow, we, took down the old Reed Hospital.
Right.
So, that was an eyesore that's out of the way, so that's a major accomplishment. The bike pass, there's pro and con on it. But to piggyback on what Bill said, I think once it's done, people will realize the impact it will have. Everybody's tired of construction fatigue. We all are. I wasn't involved in the original planning in 2012. Would I like to see maybe some adjustments had been made to maybe not be so wide. But I think overall, once it's done, and you see the impact it will have on downtown and the loop, as it's called, I think it'll be a good thing. I mean, as I said earlier, about once we got J Street and North 27 done, everybody, the complaints stop. So I think once it's done and we see how good it is, I think that'll be good. Other areas, I'm not involved in directly, but the police department's hired a lot of new people. The fire department's hired some new people. Keeping those things up. One thing we've talked about in Finance Committee, which I'm a member of, we even talked about it last night. I'd like to see a comprehensive study done on all of our city-owned buildings that tell us, this building needs this building needs that, but this building has to go first before that building. We need to work on our facilities because, the street department building's old. Myself and another counselor went out to Highland Lake yesterday and toured out there, and the pro shop, whatever you want to call it, it's 47 years old. It
Right.
needs some attention. So
Right.
we need to work on those kind of things because we can't let them get to the point where they're falling down. So, have to raise taxes or have to do a bond issue, We're going to have to do something because we got to fix up some of these buildings because they're old.
Right.
I think that's a great idea. If the pump house out at Glen Miller has got a great big hole, or not at Glen Miller, at Highland Lake's got a great big hole in it. And there are issues with drainage and things, so there's work that needs to be done. It has to be planned, and we have to figure out how we are going to spend our money, as we learned last night from the discussion at council. So that will continue. I hope to be a part of that, and hope to be a part of the budget efforts in the future if I'm elected.
We're going to get you out of here in just a minute, but you mentioned the former Reed Hospital coming down. That's an open piece of land. A lot of people in the community have wondered when they might have a chance to have their voices heard about what should happen there. How much community input should actually go into what happens with that piece of property, and how do you all think that conversation should be handled?
I think the community should have a lot of input into it. Like I said, we're here to represent them on the board. The biggest comment I hear from people is they feel that we should sell the property and try to recoup some of the money that the city and the county has put toward tearing the building down. A lot of people feel it should be sold, but I think we need community input. I've seen some things on social media where people's proposed different projects there. I think it'd be great for a par 3 lighted golf course, but I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with that.
My husband would love you.
Beg pardon?
My husband would love you.
But I think the community should be involved in what we do because, the community went together to help tear it down. I mean, even though it was the 4 different legislative bodies or administrative bodies in the county, we still spent taxpayer money to do it, so I think the taxpayer should be involved with some input on what direction we go in that property.
I agree with that. I think, you know, there are no bad ideas, and I would hope that the administration and council would be listening to the public. Not that the public is going to come up with the final definitive answer on what to do with the property, because then you have to make it all happen. But I think it's important to have a very public and very general discussion about it, and to listen to ideas and then evaluate them and see where we can go. We may need investors, we may need some developers, but I think part of the discussion certainly has to be listening to the community.
Is time set aside at a council meeting appropriate?
I think so. It should be a public discussion.
Okay.
I think you need to do it separately myself, but maybe not, who knows. It might be nice if it was even part of a section of the comprehensive planning discussion. I know that's started already, so.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people, we're in opportunity zones,
Right.
and a lot of people are involved in that. It's just too bad this didn't fall into that, because that'd be a prime place
Yes.
for future investment, as Bill said.
Absolutely.
Bill Engel, Jeff Locke, running for Richmond Common Council. Thank you very much for being here with us, gentlemen.
Thank you for inviting.
Yep, thanks for the time.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of the In Focus election special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV, Channel 11. Keep up with local government information and shows with WGTV Online. Go to WCTV.info and click on the WGTV Online button. It's a live stream and video on demand site in one. Click the play button, you'll see whatever's on the air on WGTV Channel 11, or scroll down for videos on demand. Choose whatever meeting or show you'd like to watch. It's easy to stay informed with WGTV Online, a service of Whitewater Community Television.
Greetings, Red Wolf Nation. This is Kyle Wright with the Indiana University East Athletic Department. We hope you'll join us on Friday nights for Inside IUE Sports, a weekly television program where we meet the players, coaches, and athletes who are part of Red Wolf Nation and Indiana University East Athletics. Watch Inside IUE Sports on Friday evenings on WETV Channel 20.
Hi, I'm Professor Tim Scales and the Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship here at Indiana University East, but most importantly, the host of In Your Business. Join me this month when my guest will be Jerry Stamper with Stamper Farms.
Don't always believe in what somebody says. Go do your research, get your findings, and then step forward.
I'd like to invite you to watch In Your Business, WETV Channel 20, Tuesday nights at 9:30 p.m.
Bob Beaver. And I'm AJ Sickman. We're both with BBKCC attorneys. Join us for the next episode of Legal Briefs. Our next episode will be discussing working through city laws, rules, and regulations.
Operate this business out of the house, you'll have a couple of options to it. One is to seek rezoning, and the other would be to seek a variance. And I know you and I...
Join us on Tuesday evenings at 10 p.m. on WETV Channel 20.
Welcome back to the In Focus special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric Marsh, Executive Director of WCTV, joined by Melissa Vance, President and CEO of the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce. We're here waiting on final results to come in. Some of the numbers that you saw earlier this evening, and I think they will put those back up in a little bit, are actually from the early vote totals that came in. There were 888 ballots cast in the early vote numbers. Not a great number, but again, when there's only one race, it's hard to get people out. So again, where you're seeing 100%, that is not a final number. That is just the numbers of the early folks. We have sitting with us, I almost said it, I almost said Wayne County Sheriff Jeff Kappa. I just look at you and I see that, but he is not. He is actually a candidate for Richmond Common Council, Jeff Kappa. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for asking. Appreciate it.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm fine. You know, every time you run for an office, you run unopposed. What is it? Why is it that you're able to scare people that way?
No, that's not true. I was not opposed the first time I ran for sheriff.
Oh, okay. How is it? First of all, you obviously term limit, stepped away from being sheriff, left the police department after all that time, barely took a breath, and threw your hat into the ring to run for Richmond Common Council. Some people might have thought you would have waited, maybe run for Wayne County Council, since the county is an area that you had worked in for a number of years. You were very familiar with it. What made you step into the Richmond Common Council race?
About 6 years ago, I moved from the 2-mile fringe of living outside on Tushlog Road of the city limits to moving back into the city of Richmond, where I grew up, actually. And I grew up on the southwest side of Richmond over by Earlham College. And I had several people within the party come to me and talk to me a little bit about if I was interested in running for something within the city government. And you're right, I was off a total of retired 3 weeks.
Long time.
Long time.
Boredom
Keep a good man down.
And I'd already accepted my new position at where I'm working at, and just gave some thought about it. And also being prior party chair for our party, and also prior secretary of the party, and being heavily involved in the party for some time, I still felt like that I had some still to give, and I would wanted to be involved. So I made a decision and talked to a few more people and talked to the members of my campaign committee that worked with me when I was running for sheriff. And they were also very supportive and excited about it. So we kind of brought the band back together, so to speak, and got the committee going. And I decided, at that point, I was deciding between the at-large seat or District 4, where I live. And I then decided I would just run for District 4, which is the area which I live in now. That would give me an opportunity to be in contact with those people that are in my area and the constituents that are living in that area. So I went ahead and went up to the clerk's office and filed the paperwork.
Okay.
When you think about city council and some of the things that that entity has their hand in, what are some areas that you feel like you can make an impact?
Well, obviously county government is a little different than what the city government is. Budgeting processes, if you're looking at the private sector or you're looking at a government entity, the budgeting processes are similar as far as getting ready to project for the next year's budget, looking at the line items and what kind of expenses that you may be forecasting that you're going to have to spend. It's kind of like looking into a crystal ball and hoping that you judge correctly for whatever expenditures that you're going to have to go through. But some of the areas that I feel that I have some strong points in, number one is being sheriff, I was overseeing a $6.5 million budget. Actually, there were two budgets, as Eric knows, and he was there when I would be speaking with council, one for the jail division, one for the enforcement division. And the other things are, I'm a firm believer in strategic planning, and I feel that that is a need that we have right now within the city of Richmond. We need to start looking at doing some long-term strategic planning, also comprehensive planning. I have experience in that. Also, I'm not a stranger to having 68,000 different bosses when I was the sheriff of Wayne County. So that's obviously stepping it down a little bit, running for city council. But the legislative process that is involved, or the processes that are involved in being a member of the council, I'm very familiar with, working within the county government area when I was an elected official and working with the county council, county commissioners, and so forth.
The seat that you would be taking if you're elected in the fall would be that Clay Miller currently has. Talk about the area that you're in and the needs that you see living in that area that you might want to bring to council.
Well, it's kind of a unique district in itself. You have residential areas. You also have a strong business area within that area. It's basically Henley Road going east to the state line. And that in itself, just those two major entities, other entities as well, but those two major entities have their own sets of needs and problems that need to be addressed. If elected to the council, what I'd like to do, or not like to, what I'm going to do, is basically try to make appointments with those people that are in those particular areas or those segments and sit down and talk with them and get to know what their needs are, maybe even their wants, but we need to take a look at what the needs are for that side of the city and open up that line of communication between those entities, but also with not just myself as their representative, but the other members of council. Because I think sometimes people forget that the council member is only one vote on that council board, and they work closely with their counterparts that are sitting and representing the other districts where they have large seats.
Sure. One of the things that just passed, as you probably know, at the state level is Senate Bill 566 that allows a TIF district to be established for a residential development. And there are some plots of land in your district that possibly could be developed for residential purposes using that. What are your thoughts about that, and is it something that's appropriate for the city of Richmond?
To answer your question, I don't know if it is appropriate or not right now for the city of Richmond. I feel right now is that I need to, number one, educate myself a little bit better on what we would be allowed to do if that was adopted by the council. And number two is I think that we need to take a strong look, when I was talking about comprehensive planning just a minute ago, strategic planning.
Right.
We need to do our due diligence in collecting the data that we need to collect to answer all those questions, because the data may show that that's not what we should do.
Right.
Where the data may strongly show that that's a direction we need to consider and we need to take a very strong look at. Going back to the strategic planning part, what I was talking about, you know, I've had a lot of people come up to me after I announced that I wanted to run for city council and were talking to me about the things they liked and things they don't like about what has been done in Richmond and those type of things. And the main thing is that we need to project to the city and those constituents what our plan is, but they also need to have some input into what that plan will be. And we need to take a look at narrowing down what objectives we want to accomplish for that time frame, and then to have the strategies that we want, put those in place to get that done.
How should City Council go about listening to its residents? There's been a lot of conversation, I know you haven't been part of it, but there's been conversation about whether there should be public commentary time, just kind of open time during a City Council meeting. Is that, and again, you've been part of the county for a while. Almost every county meeting I've been at, whether it's commissioners or council, even during council commissioners workshop, you know, does the community have anything they want to say? That question has been asked. It's not a question that's been asked on a regular basis during Richmond Common Council meetings. Do you think that that is something that could be helpful in hearing people out?
I think, yes, to answer your question, yes. As you just stated, I'm familiar with that because they've done that my time during the county government.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times that, depending on what the particular topic is, that may not be the appropriate time to have that done. That's when you need to set time to have that sit down or that public meeting over that particular topic, so people are able to voice their opinions to the council, what they agree with or what they disagree with, so that we can make an educated decision on what we're going to do with that particular topic or that particular area. It also falls upon an elected official, though, to keep in communication with their constituents and make themselves available to talk to their constituents. And as sheriff, I would receive phone calls at home from people wanting to speak to me about particular topics. That just kind of goes with the job. And I would talk to them about that and try to help them out right then if we could. I made an appointment with them, and they came into the office later, and we sat down and discussed it further. So there is some responsibility on the elected officials also to be able to open themselves up to those people, to be able to talk to them about whatever it is.
To initiate that discussion?
It's sometimes, yes.
Okay. You're watching the In Focus Election Special on Whitewater Community Television's WCTV Channel 11. The numbers that you are seeing on the screen are actually the final numbers that have come in for this evening. So we're going to take a pause and take a look at those as they come through. Jeff Locke, who we just had here, 177 votes. I know that there is only one race that people are waiting to come around. Dave Snow, 1,021 votes. Jack Cruz, 527 votes, a 66% for Dave Snow to 34% for Jack Cruz. So that will put the race in the fall between Dave Snow and Jamie Lopeman for the mayor's race. There will also obviously be another race, and you're seeing some of those numbers on the screen as we look at the council at large, because there are actually 3 members of the Democratic Party running for council at large, 3 members of the Republican Party running for council at large, and there are only 3 seats. There is still time for the parties to actually still put people into some of these races, so there may be additional races that we don't know about at this time. We've been speaking with Jeff Kappa, who is running for District 5? 4. For Richmond Common Council. First time out in a city race, basically. How is it going for you so far as getting out, knocking on doors, talking to people?
Well, knocking on doors, really haven't done that, but I have talked to a lot of people. Also, in my new profession, I see a lot of people, and people will stop me and want to talk to me about different things. The team that I had before, we've been meeting regularly and talking about different things, and we're ready to go. Ready to go in November if someone would be slated to run against me, and we're ready to go with the election.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll have a chance to talk to you again in the fall.
I hope so.
Jeff Kappa running for Richmond Common Council. We're going to take a short break, and Mayor Dave Snow, who was victorious in his primary election, is here tonight. We'll bring him in and talk to him in just a couple of minutes as we continue with the In Focus election special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV, Channel 11. Keep up with local government information and shows with WGTV Online. Go to WCTV.info and click on the WGTV Online button. It's a live stream and video on demand site in one. Click the play button, you'll see whatever's on the air on WGTV Channel 11, or scroll down for videos on demand. Choose whatever meeting or show you'd like to watch. It's easy to stay informed with WGTV Online, a service of Whitewater Community Television.
Greetings, Red Wolf Nation. This is Kyle Wright with the Indiana University East Athletic Department. We hope you'll join us on Friday nights for Inside IUE Sports, a weekly television program where we meet the players, coaches, and athletes who are part of Red Wolf Nation and Indiana University East Athletics. Watch Inside IUE Sports on Friday evenings on WETV Channel 20.
Hi, I'm Professor Tim Scales and the Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship here at Indiana University East, but most importantly, the host of In Your Business. Join me this month when my guest will be Jerry Stamper with Stamper Farms.
Don't always believe in what somebody says. Go do your research. Get your findings. And then step forward.
I'd like to invite you to watch In Your Business, WETV, Channel 20, Tuesday nights at 9:30 p.m.
I'm Bob Beaver.
And I'm AJ Sickman.
We're both with BBKCC attorneys. Join us for the next episode of Legal Briefs. Our next episode will be discussing working through city laws, rules, and regulations.
Operate this business out of the house, you'll have a couple of options to it. One is to seek rezoning, and the other would be to seek a variance. And I know you and I...
Join us on Tuesday evenings at 10 p.m. on WETV Channel 20.
Welcome back to the In Focus election special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11, being made possible by Whitewater Community Television and the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce. We're joined by Melissa Vance, President and CEO of the Chamber. Thanks for being here with us again.
Thank you.
And we've changed the person in the seat, and you don't look like Karen Chastain. Mayor Dave Snow is here with us, who is breathing a little bit easier, I assume, having gotten through the primary election. How was it? How was it running and getting out there, hearing the different sides of what people had to say. And I know you hear it a lot, but obviously it comes really to the fore during election time.
Absolutely.
What are your takeaways from the last few weeks?
The takeaways are there's a lot more work to do. Today is just a step in the right direction, but we still have a long summer ahead going into fall. And my favorite part of the job and campaigning is being out in the neighborhoods and knocking doors and talking to people on their front porches and in their front yards. That part's been tremendous. I would say the difference in this campaign versus the last one is it's been a lot slower. We'd had a pace to that in the former campaign, but in this one, when I would go to the front doors, they'd say, well, the mayor's here. And we would slow down quite a bit. Let's talk for a while. But that's okay. It's fine. And so I can send other people to go out and do some door knocking and say the mayor's in the neighborhood. But for me, I love just being out and talking to people, because really their view of the city starts at their front door. I can't tell you the number of people I talk to that when I say, how are things going for you? If they say, not so well for me, and I say, well, tell me what's wrong, it typically starts right at the front door. Well, this tree needs cut down, or this curb needs fixed, or this corner floods every time it rains. And that helps me put eyes on the problems, and we say, well, let's get that taken care of. When we go back and we say, is that working better? They go, yeah, things are great, and everything's better.
How do you, as mayor, having been in this position for 3 years, how do you create more time to have that face-to-face dialogue with residents?
Within the office or in the campaign?
Within the office.
Within the office?
Yeah.
We try and do that now. We try and balance that out. I mean, my door is always open. My executive assistant, Suzanne Bias, does a great job of setting appointments and filling my calendar every day. But there's a balance in the office every day of being in the very important meetings to facilitate the services and the departments that have to run to serve the city, being an ambassador and being out as a conduit and a partner for the events and the things that are going on and the proclamations, and then having the desk time for the emails and the things that I have to do, the busy work, the paperwork and the emails. The mayor is not immune from busy work. And then having that time to meet with people, and it's just trying to find that balance at all times. But doing our best to use our website, our social media, our council meetings to communicate everything that's going on so that people feel connected to that and they know what's happening. And that way, if someone has a particular concern, they can email, text me, call me. From my campaign in 2015, I've always put my personal cell phone number on my business cards and everything, so I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. So I like being accessible.
You did an outstanding job during the last campaign of really running on communication, like you said, and just being out there and talking to people, whether it's sitting in Roscoe's or in the park or somewhere. And I think people have appreciated that about you. When you look at, after you've had a little bit of experience of being in the office itself, and you look for the next 4 years, what's that thing that you want people to know about you that sets you apart from any other candidates?
Well, you know, for me, that's a difficult question, because I really don't go into the office thinking about myself every day. Eric asked me a question last time I was here on In Focus, and he said, if this all comes to an end in this campaign, what do you want to be remembered for? And I said, if you recall, I said, if I do my job right, I won't be remembered. And Eric said, is that your allergy meds talking? I feel like if I do my job right, when I think about everything that led me here, being the creator of City Fit, which was out in the park, and City Life in the park, and the Richmond City Fireworks that meant a lot to me. When we gather in Richmond's gathering spaces, whether it's down in the Depot, Elstro Plaza, Glen Miller Park, Mary Scott Park, when we gather at Clear Creek, we don't often think about how did this come to be? Who started this? Who planted this here? Who began this? We just know it's an important space for us as a community. It's where we grow and where we gather. And if I do my job right and I create those spaces and those things and those elements, people won't gather there and say, oh, I think Dave Snow had a hand in this. It doesn't matter. They'll just say, this is important to this city. That's the kind of things I want to leave behind after my work here, so that we have a wonderful, livable, lovable, welcoming community. And it doesn't have to have my name or my signature on it. So those are the things that I think about a lot when I'm doing the day-to-day work.
We all know that you get calls about the streets, you get calls about the bike paths, you get calls about the infrastructure and the details of just city in and of itself.
Absolutely.
But setting that aside, What types of things do you think that we can do, not just from your office, but as a community, whether it's the chamber or tourism or EDC or whoever? How do we, kind of join hands and say, we're going to enhance the quality of life here in Wayne County so that this is a place people want to live and stay? What do you kind of see as that next step?
I think that's an important next step, and we've had some of those conversations. One of the things that really put us over the edge in, for example, the old hospital project, could have never been done without teamwork. It required all of us at the table with a common goal and a focus, and we did that. And I remember when you first came in as president, and that's one of the first conversations we had, I said, working together, talking to each other, knowing each other's plans so we can support each other will pay off dividends for this community. So even just last week, we sat down and had a conversation similar to that with the Center City Board and said, we've got to start coming together and working together to keep all of this moving forward for this community. And so I think there's a lot of ways that we can continue to improve all of that and see great dividends for how we progress over the next handful of years. We're definitely at a critical turning point in our city's story here, and we've got to point it in the right direction. We're seeing economic development upswing. I've talked about it a lot in talks that I've given to groups. In 2017 and 2018, and this is just coming right out of the EDC annual report, we've seen $27 million invested in Richmond. We've seen 300 new jobs created. We're on an upswing. We have to capture that and keep it going. It's going to require all of us at the table working together. The best thing working in our favor is the bright, passionate people that we have in the positions that are here. You're at the table, I'm at the table, we're all there working for the greater good, and that's what's going to propel us into the next chapter.
Jeff Capper was just sitting here. He was talking about strategic planning, and that's something the city needs to do. You all are in that process right now. The comprehensive master plan is going on. How do people get involved? How do they have their voices heard? Because I think that's what some people in the community are missing. They still feel like their voices aren't being heard. How do you find those people and help bring them to the table and get them into that conversation so that 5 years down the line they see something happening and go, that was part of what I was saying.
Right. I agree completely. So let's talk about the comprehensive plan and Richmond Rising for a second. The comprehensive plan is when a city goes about building a 10-year roadmap for kind of how you want to grow and develop over those 10 years. So as you're making emergent decisions, you can look at that roadmap and say, well, we decided through input that this is what we want to be in 10 years. Every city that goes through a comprehensive plan does it in a different way. I feel very strongly that in Richmond it should be citizen-driven, should be community-driven. So the way that I approached this was built about an 18-person citizen steering committee and then assigned 2 citizens as co-chairs, and that's Kathy Lucid and Joe Green. And then I laid upon them the expectation that when this is completed, how can we unveil this in a way that the community says, I had a hand in that, exactly what you just said. So they carry that expectation to the steering committee. Then we go out into the neighborhoods and have the meetings. Now, instead of calling it the comprehensive development plan or the master plan, which is just not, it's so bureaucratic. I know, right? And so saying, to try and say, come to Lingle Hall at Reed Health and join us for the comprehensive master plan development, nobody wants to come to that. So we've been working on this new branding piece, and we landed on Richmond Rising. So we said, let's use the comprehensive plan as the vehicle to start putting Richmond Rising out there. And so that brings me back to how people can connect. It's very easy. You can go to richmondrising.com. There's a survey there right now that's very helpful for us if you take that survey. And then you can find the schedule. When are the public input sessions? Where are they? How can you give your feedback? How can you play a role in this so that when this is completed later this year, and we say, this is our roadmap for the next 10 years, you feel like you had a hand in this. And I want it to mean something to the citizens and not just be a bureaucratic document, that sits on a shelf. And I will say in the last comprehensive plan process, there was a huge attempt to make it touch the community. And I want to continue to uphold that and drive it in that direction.
Okay. Dave Snow, Mayor of Richmond. Normally I let people out and go, I know you have signs to pull out of yards, but you don't have any signs to pull out of yards.
I do not.
So you're just going to go drink more coffee?
Not a bad turnout today for my name not being up anywhere at the polling places, right?
Maybe get some sleep, huh?
There's no time for sleep, Eric.
Okay.
The coffee helps me just keep going and going, so I'm good.
Well, we'll get some coffee. We'll get you back in here. We'll have another one of our 90-minute sessions, and
I'm
we'll
looking
go
forward
through
to
some
that.
things pretty soon.
I always look forward to that. Thank you both very much for hosting this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Mayor Dave
Congratulations.
Snow has defeated Jack Cruz in the primary election this evening. Again, the numbers are on the screen, 1,021 votes to 527 votes. We're going to take a break, bring in a couple more candidates who are running for Richmond Common Council at large, and we'll talk to them as we continue with the In Focus election special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV, Channel 11.
Hi, I'm registered dietitian Jennifer Stockler.
And I'm Chef Dugan Wetzel.
We are the host of I Heart Cooking. Please join us this month as we talk about healthy desserts. Most of the desserts we're looking at adding fruit, kind of possibly decreasing added sugars, different ways of making things that you typically would think are not as a healthy bracket, but kind of putting them into there.
Join us on Monday nights at 9:30 on WCTV Channel 20.
Hi, I'm Sherry Harlan Davis, program host for Read Beside You. Join us on our next episode where my guest will be Carrie Miles, CEO of the Neighborhood Health Center.
As a federally qualified look-alike, we provide primary care as well as behavioral health services, access to dental care, eligibility services for patients regardless of their ability to pay.
Join us Thursday at 8 o'clock on Channel 20 WETV.
Watch Wayne County Connection on WGTV Channel 11 Tuesdays at 6. I'm your host, Michael Swigert. Join me this month as I speak with Liz Yetter. She's the Regional Specialist for the Indiana Invasives Initiative, and Kate Glenn, the Outreach Coordinator from Hayes Arboretum, as we discuss initiative plant management here in Wayne County. Watch Wayne County Connection on WGTV Channel 11 Tuesdays at 6.
Hi, I'm Eric, host of Access to the Arts. This month, we look at things for youth to do during the summer that are arts-related in the community. Lots of ideas are going to be laid out, so I hope you can join us.
We're going to learn about a different form of art, from dancing, canvas painting, pottery, storytelling. So we're partnering with local art community members and organizations.
Access to the Arts, Thursday nights at 9 p.m. on WETV, Channel 20. Welcome back to the In Focus election special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric Marsh, Executive Director of Whitewater Community Television. Glad you're able to join us for this evening. I'm joined by Melissa Vance, President and CEO of the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, our partners in our election special. And as I mentioned earlier, we know that besides the mayor's race, there will be at least one other race as we get into the fall, and that is for Richmond Common Council at large. That is a citywide vote that's going on. There are 3 people running at large on the Democratic ballot: Nick Dunlap, Sue Roberson, and Yvonne Washington. Yvonne Washington not able to be here with us, but Sue and Nick are. And as a matter of fact, I'm kind of looking down at the numbers and going, Sue, looks like you got more votes than anybody. 1,040. Now, Mayor Snow had 1,021. You've got 1,040. What makes you so popular?
Well, I was born and raised here, and I know a lot of people. I volunteered a lot before I went to Indianapolis. I was gone for 28 years and came back, and I volunteer now places, and I just like to go out and talk to people.
Okay. You also worked for the city. You were
Yes,
HR director for
I worked for the,
how many years? You were there a
close,
while.
yeah, like 4.5, 5. Yes.
Nick, a little bit of background on you.
A little bit of background. Well, I mean, I've grown up my whole life here in Richmond. I was born in Goshen, but adopted at birth and brought here. Graduated class of 2015 at Richmond High School, and currently student at Ball State, secretary of the Indiana Stonewall Democrats Caucus, and mainly just working in Richmond and commuting and doing what I can, really, for the city and for the state.
Question for both of you. Why did you decide to run for Richmond Common Council at large?
Well, I had decided to run just mainly because we're talking about the future of Richmond 10, 25, 50 years down the road. And a lot of my friends that still go to school here in Richmond and commute to Richmond, they felt that they haven't been heard when we're talking about the future of Richmond. I mean, that's a big deal if we're talking about the future of Richmond, 25, 50 years. And I moved halfway across the planet to London and came back to Richmond, where I was born and raised. And that's a big deal to be moving back to Richmond, because the stories we hear is, well, my child moved to Bloomington or my granddaughter went to Notre Dame. But we don't normally hear, oh, my son came back to Richmond or my daughter came back to Richmond. So really just running to try and get a younger voice in there that lives in Richmond. So.
Okay. So why are you running?
I am running because I love my hometown, and I love the people that are here, and I feel that there needs to be more team. There needs to be team with the Chamber. There needs to be team with EDC. There needs to be team with IU East, Ivy Tech, Earlham. We need to all work together to make Richmond a livable community. It pained my soul when the schools, everyone got a free breakfast and a free lunch. I'm like, what's wrong? You know, that should not be happening in a livable, viable community. Now, am I saying that we go in and we do the things that the Chamber does? Do we do the things that EDC does? No, but there are a lot of things that we can do in city government in terms of making this a livable community. And I know people have complained about road construction, but that's, you know, keeping our infrastructure up, keeping our city clean. Those are, and being cheerful and bright and talking about loving our community and giving that example, I think will move out to other people, and that's something that I felt I could do. Just being me and my experience in government, I've had 30 years experience in government. On the other side, I must admit, in terms of administration. And so I thought, this is an opportunity for me to be on the policy-making side of government and do what I can do in terms of making our community a more livable, vibrant, exciting place to be.
Nick, as a young professional and student and somebody who came back to Wayne County, I'm also somebody that came back to Wayne County, so I think it's maybe more popular than you know, but maybe not at your age. What do you think that we can do as a city, as a community, to retain the young professionals, whether it's the high school graduates or the college graduates? And then what can we do to attract those that, like you, that have moved away and want to come back?
I think a lot of it is really just having more things to do and actually showing people that we have things to do. I mean, I myself, I do a lot of the 5K runs and a lot of things. The parks department, we've got great parks all over our town, and we've got some great businesses that are open sort of late. So I think being able to show people that there are other things in Richmond to do, showing people that there is opportunity for more late night businesses to run, and showing that there are more options than what we used to have. Because I'm back when I started high school, a lot of the late night options were not there, and now they're back and into fruition. And I think just being able to show that off.
When you say late night options, what in particular are you speaking of?
I would say a lot of it, like bars, coffee houses, movie theater. I know I used to work at the movie theater growing up, and our hours used to be closed really early. And then a lot of customers said they like to be able to come out to late night showings. They increased the hours. So to be able to just show that there is people that want to do that, and people my age I would believe some of them would like to be able to have those kind of options. So to be able to just sort of show it off and to have more businesses have that option.
You know, one of the things from the Chamber that we launched a few years ago as Wayne County Weekends, and really the whole point of that was not that we owned anything, but to celebrate the things that are going on and to share. There really are things happening, you just don't know about them. And so I think not only the chamber has picked that up, but HYPE has become more vocal and active. The EDC with their Home and Wayne campaign and some other things like that. Are there ways that we can engage the students that are currently here into some of those positive conversations to be that positive voice in the community to say this is a great place to be?
I would say going to the college campuses. I know I've been campaigning and meeting with students, and a lot of them, I've mentioned HYPE and Home and Wayne, and a lot of them don't know about it, which for me, I've known about a lot of these things just because you see at some place in the Depot District have the Home and Wayne stickers and signs and stuff. But here at some college campuses, they don't have that stuff, because I know a few people at Earlham as well. I had mentioned Home and Wayne, and they didn't even know what it was. And I think it's getting the message to these students and getting to the people that there are these things here.
As you all go out this fall and this summer and talk to residents, and as you've done it, as you've been campaigning, what are some of what you're hearing from people, both positive and negative, that as a common council member you think you can make a change in?
Well, some of the things is the quality of the housing, and particularly in certain parts of the city. I speak of from the railroad track to the Whitewater River, from 27 to the park. It's almost like that's a forgotten part of town. The last time anybody really did anything meaningful there was back in the 60s when they tore the good housing stock down and put housing authority apartments in there. But there are a lot of good people who still live in North Richmond, and I think there are people who would come back to North Richmond if attention was paid to it by the city. Okay. And there was a house there it was crumbling, and people put hay bales up to keep the air from whipping through the house. You know, something's being done about it now, but I think there are things like housing codes, and we got so focused on the Bright Elimination project that I think we forgot about the houses that were still here in Richmond, and that people need assistance to try and help maintain their households. The other thing that is a concern of mine is the aging population, and how we need to partner with people so that people can get their grass cut, they can get their house painted, because they have a hard time maintaining their homes just because of their physical limitations due to age. I think that we do have to reach out. I know that we do, because people don't know what's available to them. And I think we have to point out things, because one of the things that I know is I couldn't have been on the United Way boards and, you know, president of the YWCA board, and those kinds of things are what I cut my teeth on, that prepared me to be able to go to Indianapolis and start at a fairly high executive level in state government based on the experience that I had here. And this is the best place, I think, to cut your teeth as a young person and learn the skills that if you do want to go out, you can go out and you can be prepared to go out. We have to, I think, get out. We need to celebrate one of the things we have not done for a long time, since the Rose Festival, is celebrate. Just have a big celebration, you know, celebrating our city, our town. There are things like that that we can do that will not only bring young people back, but it'll bring people from away to this community. And I know people who visited this community and loved it and have moved here as a result of them coming to a program and visiting.
Sue Roberson, Nick Dunlap, running for Richmond Common Council at large. Yvonne Washington, not able to join us this evening, but also running as part of the Democratic ticket. Three people running for those seats on the Republican side. We'll talk to two of them coming up in just a little bit as we continue with the In Focus election special on Whitewater Community Television's WCTV, Channel 11. Thanks for being here.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Eric Marsh, host of Eastern Indiana Works, a new program providing information about jobs and workforce development tools in East Central Indiana. Join me on the premiere episode as we talk with Rushville Mayor Mike Pavey, Kirk Robbins from Magna Machine and Tool, and Winnie Logan, Director of the Newcastle Henry County Public Library. Eastern Indiana Works, Tuesday evenings at 10:30 on WETV, Channel 20.
Hi, Phil Quinn. Join us for another edition of Connect with Ivy Tech, where we talk to our student graduates. A few students stopped by to tell us their story about Ivy Tech, why it was a good decision for them, and what it feels like to get to cross that stage.
I have worked hard for this, but my family has also worked hard for this. They've put in a lot of time and they've stepped up a lot.
Join us for another edition of Connect with Ivy Tech on WETV, Channel 20, Fridays at 9 o'clock.
Hi, I'm Melissa Vance with the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to invite you to join me for the next Chamber Chat. We'll be talking with Steve Borchers from the Wayne County Foundation and Ron Holbrook from Sugar Creek.
Childhood development is going to be, I think, a huge benefit for the community, and we're excited to be a part of that.
Tune in Tuesday night, WETV Channel 20 at 8 p.m.
And welcome back to the In Focus election special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm joined by Melissa Vance, President and CEO of the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, and two of the three candidates running for Richmond Common Council at large on the Republican ticket. Current council member Ron Oler, thanks for being here. Jane Bumbelow, who is new to running for public office, and Larry Parker, who is a former council member who is running at large this time around. He was a member of the council before, but in a district. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, Larry sends his apologies for not being able to be here tonight. So thank you, Eric and Melissa, for having us tonight. This is great.
Thank you.
Glad that you're here. We haven't had a chance to talk to you. You're currently on council, and well, this will be your third term.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Finishing my second term.
Okay. You're running for the first time. I'm going to start with you. And Jane, tell us why you decided to run for council at large.
Well, I was asked.
Okay.
I was asked, and honestly, I've been a caregiver for over 33 years, and I've just come to a point where I want to use my gifts and talents in a broader way to serve the community. And you know, I've been pondering this, and I was contacted, and I've prayed a lot about it, and I had a great piece to do it, so I'm just very thankful.
Okay. Why are you coming back for another
and if
term?
I may,
Yes, go.
a lot of people don't know this. Jane is my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know
I
that.
did not know that.
Misty Hollis decided not to run for a lot of reasons. We looked out into the community and who we knew and who would be a good candidate and who really cares for the city, and Jane was a natural fit.
Thank you.
So
Wonderful.
she was asked, yes.
Wonderful.
And I think she'll do a
you.
great job. We'll be happy to have her. But anyways, running for a
Yeah.
third term.
Why are you running for a third term? What has happened in the past 8 years that you either want to continue working on or see done differently?
Great. I've had a lot of fun in the last 8 years. I want to do things to help my community. That's why I ran originally. And honestly, I had considered not running and stopping at 2 terms, but all of my mentors, advisors talked me into it. They told me I was doing a great job on finance committee, economic development,
That's true.
working through the budget, working through issues in the community. The Blight Elimination Project, we were able to tear down almost 200 homes.
Yeah.
We were able to bring in Blue Buffalo, home and casting, so we're doing really good things in this community, and I want to continue to be part of that. So running at large again. For a time, I thought about running in my District 3, where Bruce Whistle was leaving, but Jamie decided to do that, and then at the last minute, Jamie switched to mayor, which is
Right.
fine. So we'll iron all that stuff out eventually, but running at large, I do like serving at large because I get to work the whole entire community. I feel like I'm not tied to a district. Not that any of us are anyways, but
Right.
Right.
The votes that you take affect the entire
yes,
city
they
one way
affect
or
the
the
entire
other.
city. The only bad thing is, as an at-large candidate, you have to canvass the entire city, not just your district. So I get a lot more steps in, and I did pretty good today too on steps. So.
Not bad.
So, questions?
So, Jane, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, because I think because you are a new candidate, our viewers, many of them maybe have never had an opportunity to meet you.
Yeah. Well, I have been married to my husband, Jim, for 35 years. We have 10 children, and my 10th grandchild is due in June. I've done caregiving in the community for over 33 years. I work independently for families. We've lived in Wayne County all of our lives. 3 of my children either have served or are currently serving in the United States government, military, and I absolutely love volunteer work. A lot of my caregiving I do is volunteer, quite a bit of it. I love serving in the community. I'm a volunteer for the Crossroad Christian Recovery Center for Women. I'm a volunteer at Birthright. I have a love for our community and a love just for the people of our community, and I'm just very happy to have this opportunity to possibly serve whether I win or lose, I will still serve the community because I love it.
Very good.
Well, you mentioned the Blight Elimination
Yes.
project that brought down about 200 homes.
Yes.
One of the things we're hearing is that was focused so much in one area. There are other areas of the city that need that kind of thing. And the money was put there
Right,
specifically.
for a reason. The problems we had, it was an opportunity to work on the drug crisis at the same time, because a lot of these abandoned homes were used as drug houses, not just for users, but for dealers, because they were vacated and nobody was paying attention to them. So they were an eyesore, they were a public safety hazard, they became a problem with the opioid crisis, and they were lowering property values in those areas, and there was certain areas we wanted to target. And I say we, I was on council when we started this, of course, but really it was administration that kind of chose which houses and properties. But I think it really did help in those areas to bring up the property values of the neighboring homes and to resettle some of those communities. And it was mostly in areas where there's more home ownership instead of renters on purpose too. So we can help out those communities. Now, the city is still mowing a lot of those lots. And just let out the contract, I guess, yesterday to do that again this summer until they finally get them turned over to neighborhoods and other associations. One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, was the downtown. If you've followed the opportunity zones that are coming up, one of the things I think we have, and another reason I want to run again, is this opportunity zone tax credit for major developers at the same time that we inherited or purchased the old Elder Beerman building, which happens to be in this opportunity zone too. And I don't know if you've talked about this on TV or not, or in focus. The Census Tract 2, which is primarily downtown from the Gorge to Glenmuller Park, from Northeast Street to South A Street, There's about 4,000 people who live there. 70% of those are renter occupied in those homes. The median age in Indiana, this is last year's statistics, is 38. Richmond is 40, but in this tract it's 34. So we have a large area of younger people, younger than the median age. The other problem is the median income is low. So in Indiana, the median income is $53,000, Richmond is $40,000, and residents in this area is only $27,000. So I think we have a huge opportunity to bring some jobs into this area. And we're looking at that big box thinking, what can we do there? So the Economic Development Commission holding the deed to that and just starting to market it, and council and administration both working together, we'll get that. And my hope is we get some jobs in there, and not necessarily a retail. We would welcome mixed-use retail if it worked out, but I would rather another call center like Wolverine or something. Across the street, we have Reed's Patient Services. I hope they never leave downtown. That's really helping downtown. You know, eventually road construction will be done.
Right.
So this whole area has
Sure about
potential.
that.
Someday.
Well, with this new
In that
gas
area.
tax, with a new fuel tax, maybe not, because the state is flush with cash to fix roads and streets. So the median home values in Indiana, of course, are $143,000, and in Richmond is $92,000. But in this tract, we're down to $73,000. So we also have an opportunity to do some other things on homeowner and the value of these homes. You know, like I said earlier, 71% are renter occupied, only 29% are owner occupied. So we have an opportunity to fix that. You know, whether you'd like or dislike the multi-use path, some call it a bike trail. Honestly, I think people younger than me who live in that district probably will use it, and actually will see a good benefit from it. And if they don't and it doesn't work out, years from now we'll tear it out and put it back. That's just the way things work. But if it does work out for these younger people who live in that district, and it helps them be more mobile, for example, some family members that we have, I won't mention names, husband and wife, a couple of kids, have one vehicle. Husband works third shift, brings the car home, the wife takes the one kid to school, husband's there with his kids until he gets sleep time. If they lived in this district, the wife could take the kid out on a stroller, much easier than where they happen to live. So I think that's that whole opportunity, the reason, you know, Mayor Snow may tell you why he did this a little bit differently than that, but I think this is just all like there's a triple thing coming together. So we chance to do something at the Elder Bremen, chance with this opportunity zone for these tax credits for businesses. They defer their capital gains tax and even eliminate them if they hold it for 10 years.
Right.
And then the young people living in that corridor, we might have a brighter future for downtown Richmond. So I want to see that through too. So I have 4 more years to work on that and see that through.
How does the council help raise that income, though? Because that has been a problem here for an extended period of time, that wages here, we have that catch-22.
Yes.
This is a reasonable place to live, which maybe in some ways has kind of helped keep the wages down in a way. As a council member, how do you look at that?
To be sure, to be certain, I'm a free economist thinker. Government does not create jobs, but government can create an environment where the right jobs will move in there. So that's what we can do. We offer tax abatements for the right jobs. We offer incentives. So there are ways we can help bring the right businesses to that district. That's our role.
Okay.
And we fund the EDC who's doing the marketing, so that helps too.
Final question.
Talk about, and either of you can weigh in on this, but talk about when you look at downtown, because we're talking about this opportunity zone, we're talking about these buildings that have potential.
Yes.
But we have many out-of-town owners of those buildings.
Yeah.
We stopped that with Elder Bremen because we bought it.
Right,
We stopped
exactly, exactly. But we still have many with the
Yes.
Chase
Yes.
Bank building and many others. They're owned by out-of-town owners that are paying their taxes, and so, you know,
And
but
upkeep is marginal, and some are worse than
Right,
others. Yes.
exactly.
I wish they weren't, but one of the things, back to my economic philosophy, is I don't necessarily want to tell someone what they can do with their property as long as it's safe and it's well maintained. You know, I would rather it be occupied.
Yeah, it needs
For
to
example,
be.
the old Nolenbergs, I'd rather something went in there, but I understand there's some water damage, and I don't know if eventually it just needs to be torn down. I don't know if it's salvageable now after that sprinkler damage years ago in the wintertime when those pipes froze, we know about. And that has been neglected. That's an out-of-town person. I wish it wasn't, but I don't know that it's at the point where the city would want to take it other than to, unfortunately, maybe demolish it. I don't know if it can be saved. So government's role is public safety.
Yeah.
You know, our biggest budget expenditures are police and fire. Our first role is public safety.
Sure.
And when a building's in that state of array. Former hospital is a good example. We found the money to demolish the former hospital site and make a developable lot without taking out a bond, without taking out a loan. So when that opportunity comes available, we're there.
But when we look at these historic buildings downtown, so two questions, and Jane, maybe you weigh in. How do we hold the owners accountable before they get to the point of having to be torn down? And then secondly, how do we attract the right businesses to go in there that will kind of lift the downtown corridor?
Yeah. Giving me an opportunity. Well, for myself, the first thing I thought of is the relationship aspect. I think that communication and building relationships with the owners downtown, whether they live here in the city or abroad, if they're a business owner and they own the buildings, then they have to have some kind of an interest in business. And so they should have an understanding of what needs to happen to the buildings. But I think it's very important to keep that open communication with each other, see where we can meet needs. You know, you have to do the research. You have to, you know, I can't think of something off the top of my head. It's something that I'd have to have a particular instance, you know, where I would need to participate and be involved. And so I just think that it's very important. I mean, it's very important. Communication is very important, because that right there, when you form the relationships and you build the relationship and then you build trust and respect with each other, I think that you can get a lot accomplished.
Thank you, Jane Pomelo.
Oh, you're welcome.
Ron Oler. Larry Parker is the third member of this group that is actually running for Richmond Common Council at large on the Republican side. We'll have a chance to talk to you again and further in the fall. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back. Jamie Lopeman, Republican candidate for mayor, will join us as we wrap up our In Focus election special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV, Channel 11. Keep up with local government information and shows with WGTV Online. Go to WCTV.info and click on the WGTV Online button. It's a live stream and video on demand site in one. Click the play button, you'll see whatever's on the air on WGTV Channel 11, or scroll down for videos on demand. Choose whatever meeting or show you'd like to watch. It's easy to stay informed with WGTV Online, a service of Whitewater Community Television.
Greetings, Red Wolf Nation. This is Kyle Wright with the Indiana University East Athletic Department. We hope you'll join us on Friday nights for Inside IUE Sports, a weekly television program where we meet the players, coaches, and athletes who are part of Red Wolf Nation and Indiana University East Athletics. Watch Inside IUE Sports on Friday evenings on WETV Channel 20.
Hi, I'm Professor Tim Scales and the Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship here at Indiana University East, but most importantly, the host of In Your Business. Join me this month when my guest will be Jerry Stamper with Stamper Farms.
Don't always believe in what somebody says. Go do your research. Get your findings. And then step forward.
I'd like to invite you to watch In Your Business, WETV, Channel 20, Tuesday nights at 9:30 p.m.
I'm Bob Beaver.
And I'm AJ Sickman.
We're both with BBKCC attorneys. Join us for the next episode of Legal Briefs. Our next episode will be discussing working through city laws, rules, and regulations.
Operate this business out of the house, you'll have a couple of options to it. One is to seek rezoning, and the other would be to seek a variance. And I know you and I...
Join us on Tuesday evenings at 10 p.m. on WETV Channel 20.
And welcome back to the In Focus Election Special on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. As we go through this final 15 minutes, you'll see the numbers come up one more time. I'm sorry, 10 minutes. They're counting me down already. You'll see the numbers come up one more time. These are, of course, the final numbers that have come through. I'm joined by Melissa Vance, President and CEO of the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, and we're also joined by Jamie Lopeman, Republican candidate for mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for coming in this evening.
Appreciate the offer.
We'll let you start.
Jamie, thanks for being here. So you have been on council for how many years now?
This will be year 4.
Year 4. So you've gotten to spend this last term really getting to know the inside scoop of the city of Richmond. What kinds of things have you gleaned that you feel like make you the ideal mayoral candidate?
I think you have to look at some of the issues that have been brought up recently before us at council. Just last night we had a bond issue that came up. That should have been covered in my mind in the budget. I begrudgingly voted in favor of the bond issuance because if we don't give our employees the tools to do their job, then what are we to them? Things like that, I see a lot of opportunity to make efficient and effective changes within our processes, and I look forward to doing that.
Very good.
Are there other changes that you have seen? Because you've gone through the budget cycle 3 times now. They have said at the end, it seems like it has continued to get better as far as at least the communication between the administration and the council. As you look at those budgets and the numbers assigned to those departments, what are you looking for, what are you looking at, and what are you thinking you might be able to change or do differently?
I believe we need to look into long-term planning, comprehensive planning, maintenance schedules. We also have to look, is there redundancy, an opportunity to make the department more efficient. We can have situations where we eliminate paper, go electronic. There's plenty of opportunities out there. We just got to get our hands into them.
Okay.
Jamie, how do you foresee the city of Richmond being an arm of communication to the local colleges? We've got 5 colleges right here in the city of Richmond, and we probably don't tout enough that we're a college town. How do we use that to our advantage to move this community forward?
I think we have to look at one of our biggest issues is we have a declining population, and we need to reach out to that youth that's out there today, improving their education and going to a higher education. We have to also touch base with our businesses. We have to offer internships. We have to make Richmond enticing to stay. The big reason, one of the reasons why I chose to run for mayor is I have 2 children. I would like my children to have the opportunity to call Richmond their home. I'm not saying they have to stay, but I want them to have that opportunity, and we have to cultivate those opportunities.
You're running for mayor. You originally announced that you were going to be running for council in a district.
Sure.
Can you talk to us about the process that you went through to make that change from being a council member in a district to deciding to run for that mayor spot?
So I decided to leave my company that I worked for almost a decade, and I thought that the best thing that I could do for my community was to seek the mayoral office, because I have leadership, I have management skills, and that's a big gap right now that I see.
The management skills? Okay.
I've had, just so you're aware, I've had 600 indirect reports and up to 10 direct reports at a time.
Okay.
So we have been talking a little bit about the growth of economic development recently in the community, seeing jobs added. One thing that we hear at the chamber is from our employers is we just can't get enough candidates that come in with either the skills or the soft skills or the technical skills to do the job. What do you think we can do to help that? I know it's retaining, like you talked about, with giving students an opportunity to stay here, but what are some other things that we might be able to do as a city to help fill those roles that we're attracting?
Well, it's not just Richmond, it's all over. Let's just be honest.
Right.
And we have to get creative. Actually start looking younger, engaging our youth, getting them into STEM type programs. We have to, like I said, go back to our high school levels, start developing internships, and we have to have mentors. The colleges that are out there, fantastic. We have to, let's mention this earlier, go back to the businesses, get them to understand what talent's here and get them. Because if you allow them and you don't engage, I'm saying if you allow them to leave without engagement, they're gone.
Right. We very much enjoy at the Chamber having internships, and currently we have intern with Richmond High School. We try to do that every semester, if at all possible. And then we always have some college interns in and out as well. But I do agree, there can be a push, and perhaps the Chamber can help facilitate that as well.
I think that'd be appreciated throughout the community.
When you talk about long-term planning, a lot of times, especially with the current comprehensive plan, 10 years, that's, when you look out 10 years, sometimes it really almost needs to be this rolling 10 years, because things change a lot in 5 years from now. So, but what do you see when you look out 5 or 10 years that we need to be including in this current comprehensive plan to make room for tomorrow?
Well, I think one thing is that when you look at cities that are on the rise, they're planned cities. They have looks to them. They are staged properly. I think that from the maintenance aspect, we have a lot of infrastructure that needs to be addressed. I think the mayor's brought up that potentially we're looking at a new firehouse. Maybe he's even talking about a new police station. We have to plan. I know that if you look out today, you'll see trucks that are old, rusted vehicles. They're safety concerns for our employees. And if an employee is at work and they don't feel safe, we've got morale issues.
Last question.
Okay. So moving from now, you've made it through the primaries, congratulations, and into the summer. What do these next few months look for you, and how can your potential constituents reach out to you to talk about what things are important to them?
So what do the next 6 months look like? There are a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions. Obviously, we have all the social media aspect that you can get a hold of me that way. I spent the last couple months taking over 300 meetings, talking to people. It's not really talking, it's listening, because that's the gap. We have to listen to our constituents and our citizens and our business owners. In my opinion, there's a huge gap there. And that is something that I want everybody to know, is that I'm here to listen.
All right. Jamie Lopeman, Republican candidate for mayor. We will have a chance to have you back on an In Focus candidate forum.
Sure.
We'll have you and Dave Snow in, hopefully for 90 minutes, where we can talk about more issues and go through more things as we come through this.
Well, Eric, I always appreciate it.
Thank you very much for
you,
being
Melissa.
here. We appreciate you taking the time. Melissa, thank you and your staff for helping us out. It has been a short election season for us, but we will be back with the general election. Obviously, we'll be talking to mayoral candidates, candidates also running for Common Council at large, and hopefully more people throw their hat into the ring and will run for some of the district races, because the conversation really needs to be had. We want to keep you entertained and involved in the conversation. And thank you very much for watching this evening's show. Have a good weekend.
You are watching Whitewater Government Television, Channel 11.